I think that Bears fans should feel extremely uneasy about Caleb Williams, and here's why. In that story, it talked about how Carl and his Caleb Williams, his father, they were very worried about the history of the Bears quarterbacks and how since the 80s, they haven't exactly had steadiness at the position. They didn't trust Matt Eberflus. They didn't trust Shane Waldron. That was completely justified because they were fired. Carl, the father, was trying to find ways to circumvent the draft in order for him to choose which team he played for. This was something that I actually found out about during that draft process from somebody I spoke to and almost didn't even seem real. So reading in this article was like, wow, he actually did not want to play for the Bears. Now, the other added layer to this is that apparently they had an amazing meeting with Kevin O'Connell. They were blown away by Kevin O'Connell. The trade wouldn't have happened, though. Minnesota Vikings, no way they would have traded within the division.
Right.
Just wasn't going to happen. It feels like, though, now, and it was brought up in the piece on ESPN, that there's better footing because Ben Johnson is here. Caleb Williams feels a lot more optimistic about the outlook in the future, but there was not a lot of early good vibes coming out of the situation. I think that Bears fans should feel uneasy about this because if it took before he was even a Chicago Bear to try and find a way out, there should be a fear that he might not want to stick around for that second contract.
This is a doozy of a story on all fronts, Joseph. I've been waiting for some real deal honesty. And before we get into it, Caleb Williams' dad is probably one of those dads when it comes to sports. Highly involved, fingerprints everywhere, wants to make sure that his son is taken care of in his professional environment. Whether you think that it should be left to the professionals or father knows best, that's up to you. But this is madness. This entire saga is crazy to think that a dad would try to get away from the number one pick because the Bears have sucked at quarterback, which is honest.
Right.
So we have honesty just layered into this madness, and it's rational. Oh, everyone would say, God, it sucks that he's going to Chicago to play quarterback or Jacksonville or all these basement teams that have turned bright prospects into busts or just guys that couldn't make it happen. They lose confidence in the NFL. A dad that's seen it happen and is highly involved in football would say, I don't want that for my son. I know his potential. I can understand that. But this is the NFL draft, man. You got to stay in it. Caleb Williams is a franchise quarterback, no matter what the franchise is. That's what his billing was coming out of college. Not a Cam Ward type prospect who is a little rough around the edges, but is super talented. Caleb Williams was billed as a franchise redemption quarterback, a guy that could turn everything around. And I like that he's going off and doing it, but if you try to go once, you're probably going to try to go again, unless things go perfectly, which Bears fans should be puckered up all year.
Well, that's my whole point with this. And like, I don't think that there's like a world where Bears fans should feel comfortable with this story coming out. And there were a lot of rumors during his pre-draft process. As I said, I'd heard about this, that he was going to lawyers. He was going to agents that had legal backgrounds and were digging as deep into the CBA as possible in order to find out some sort of a workaround. It's ironclad. It's impossible. The only way that they would have been able to do it, which was referenced in the story, was if they pulled an Eli Manning or they pulled a John Elway and attacked the city of Chicago. But the problem was they realized if this doesn't work out and they don't trade him, it is going to be awkward and uncomfortable. So we might as well lean into it. Well, it is awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I have a lot of faith that the Ben Johnson era is going to work. I don't know for absolute utter certainty if it works with Caleb Williams. I think that Ben Johnson is the most creative hire that they've had because a lot of their other hires have been like, oh, really? Is that what we're doing? Like Nagy was a good coach, but it almost felt like really like cookie cutter. Hire the Chiefs offensive coordinator. Let's go and get the Chiefs offensive coordinator. I think that this is the first time we get to find out what the Dan Campbell coaching tree is like. A guy who has quite literally tormented you since he was his time as the offensive coordinator with the Lions. But as we just said here, if it gets to the end of this contract, his rookie deal, and he doesn't feel satisfied with the money that's being presented to him, he doesn't feel satisfied with the pieces that are being built around him, which they've done better. They've done a better job this offseason. They've gone all in on it.
The last 2 years, they've gone all in, which whether or not it all panned out, it still is respectable that they went all in, and you can't go much more all in than the Bears have recently.
They have gone in as much as they've ever gone in. But like, I have this inkling of a feeling that this contract negotiation for his second contract, and we're so far away from that, is not going to go well. If it's this much of a circus before he was even drafted, imagine what's going to happen when it is time to re-sign and him to stick around.
Yeah, the worst case scenario for the Bears is they make the playoffs once or twice over the next couple of years, but not defiantly. Like they sneak their way in on a little bit of magic, and you don't really know if Caleb Williams is your guy because he's going to be coming for a bunch of money. You don't know if he's going to need a bunch of money or deserves a bunch of money from what he's shown. And then this also compounds on why keep Eberflus last year? Why even walk into the season with that dude, given the reports that Caleb wasn't being taught how to watch film, and if you want to go split down the middle, it should be a shared practice between the coach and the quarterback. Teach a little, take a little, teach a little, take a little. Everyone contributes, fine. But that clown show that they were operating where you have a rookie quarterback watching film on his own of the NFL and NFL defenses can't happen. It has to be better, at least from a communication standpoint, from coach to quarterback.
But part of me kind of thinks that they just mailed it in. Like they knew that they were cooked, so they stopped trying. But I'm assuming this was happening at the very beginning of I don't understand why they hired Waldron. Like that was like the biggest thing that didn't make any sense. There were already kind of like doofus alerts for Eberflus on if he was a capable head coach. He shouldn't have been hired in the first place. That Colts defense that he was hired from, like this is part of why I feel better about the Ben Johnson hire. Because I just remember back to when Eberflus was hired. I don't think anyone felt like this is going to go on to be the hire from the cycle that everyone's talking about. Like the Ben Johnson hiring is one that almost feels like that they can't even accomplish because it was the right move. Like it was just the one that everybody was saying was the guy that everybody wanted. And somehow the Bears were the team that landed him.
Somehow the Bears were the team that landed Caleb Williams, and we're working in a season of somehows here, and it should all come together. It really should. Caleb Williams is a good quarterback. I think Ben Johnson is a good coach, and they have pieces. It should come together for Chicago this year without many excuses. It came together for Jared Goff pretty quickly when Ben Johnson was introduced into Detroit with him.
And he didn't have the same amount of weapons that Caleb has this upcoming year. It was a slow build-up process for them to build around Jared Goff.
And we're Team Goff. We're hashtag golfers on this show, but we know that Caleb Williams has an A potential, whereas Jared Goff has been capped out at a B quarterback. A very good, a high B, like an 87.
He's a B.
A B.
He's an 80, 83, 84.
Oh, that's a low B.
Yeah, but you can win with a low B.
I would have some of Goff's best moments cracking him over 85, but that is not the point here. Caleb Williams has more potential than Jared Goff ever did, and now he has Jared Goff's coach that made him look like a very competent veteran in the NFL. He was floating in the water there when he was leaving Los Angeles. Didn't really know what Jared Goff was going to be. It was still relatively early in his career, and then he took off. Everyone was predicting plateau, myself included. Like, this is as good as Jared Goff is going to be. He's leaving McVay. Takes off a little bit. That's all Caleb needs. Just a little bit of takeoff and get away from the muck.
I ultimately, as like kind of we're talking about here, I have a lot of faith that the Bears are going to be a lot better this year. I have a lot of faith that Caleb's going to work with in the offense. I mean, it's unbelievably loaded. The amount of toys that Ben Johnson has to work with, Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, almost so many that it makes you wonder if somebody's going to get moved at some point next offseason because there's just too many different people to feed to get the ball to. Having a guy who's actually more dynamic than Goff makes the ceiling so much higher for what the Bears can do this upcoming season. But I'm not calling into question Caleb Williams' character. I know that like naturally a lot of people are rubbed off by his character. Blake is one of these people that doesn't really like Caleb Williams and his personality. I think that he is very underrated for who he is as a leader.
Sure.
But at the same time, again, I got to keep coming back to this. I feel super uneasy on how committed he is to actually wanting to build in Chicago, again, considering he did not want to be there in the first place.
Well, I think people are well within the right to be like put off a little bit by Caleb Williams because some of the things he did in college weren't really NFL quarterback like from what we've seen. The fingernail polish, if I care or don't, different optics. Crying in his mom's arms, different optics from what we've seen historically from NFL quarterbacks. This layer now, maybe I'll go to the UFL and blow up my CBA.
I wish he did that. I wish he did that. I so badly wish he did that. That
would have been the funniest possible option.
That would have been so sick if he was running around on the Battlehawks.
They would have burned down Soldier Field. I think Bears fans are smart enough to know that it is strictly because they've been so awful at the quarterback position.
So funny.
That's why Caleb Williams is playing the UFL. Funniest possible storyline ever. Still kind of hoping he does it. I kind of want to see him abandon the Bears for a UFL team and become the face of that league. It would shake everything up. But he doesn't provide great optics or great, like, you're not going to see people like chiming in like, oh, Caleb Williams is already that dude. Caleb Williams, you can look and feel and see the part. Outside of his arm, you don't get that. But when you see his arm, it's live and he's throwing strikes 30 yards downfield, which is all that matters to me. I don't care what he dresses like, what he talks like, acts like. If you have a rocket arm and you could hit a wide receiver on a dime, play for my team. I think he can do that.
We'll see what happens. This is now going to be such a tense, like closely nitpicked situation. I don't think any other quarterback situation is going to be more, because he was already getting nitpicked. Because he was already a very polar. That was a loud sneeze. Calm down over there. He was already. Our listeners couldn't hear that. Someone sneezed so loud outside we could hear it in our apartment. He's already polarizing. He's already a guy that people root against. Now, potentially his own fan base could be rooting against him. I just don't know like the true temperature. I was listening to part of my take, and like Big Cat was saying that like he was right to not feel confident going to the Bears.
Yeah,
I think some fans feel that way, but he's also not like a true Chicagoan. Is that how you say it? Chicagoan?
Yeah, I think so. There you go.
Sure, we'll go with that. I would love to see what the true pulse is here with Bears fans.
I believe Chicago people are called goers for the Chicago. I think I'm going to start calling them goers.
You just making that one up?
Yeah. You're from Chicago? Oh, you're a goer, huh?
I don't think that one's going to stick.
It's a little joke.
I don't think that
a little joke for the other way of being called a goer. I know you're a goer.
I don't get.
You know what a goer is?
No.
Oh, it's like a freak. Someone is ready to go anytime. Anyone.
First time I've heard that.
What?
No, I've never heard that before.
What? You had earbuds in the locker room all the time. Goer was like I
didn't have AirPods in the locker room all the time. I was just sitting on the other side of the locker room with the specialists. We were all.
You guys weren't having goer, not goer conversations.
Yeah,
huh?
No, we were focused on, being on time to class and making sure that somebody had to carry the team.
Hey, we needed you.